Now, with the general elections less than 2 weeks away, political parties are in full swing with their last round of campaigning across the country. Door-to-door campaigns, rallies and party manifestos are the order of the day. But what about the role of civil society organizations during elections? What campaigns are they running in this crucial election period? And what are they doing to ensure that the upcoming elections are a true reflection of the democratic processes and an expression of the will of the people? Joining me now is Zukiswa Pikoli from the Section 27. And also Koketso Moeti from amandla.mobi. Ladies, thank you so much for joining me. Zukiswa, can I start with you, please? Now, the political parties, do they have civil society groups such as student movements? We've got religious groups and so forth. Do they have these at their disposal, helping them to campaign, do you think?
Wow, that's quite a loaded question. I don't know that they have them at their disposal, more than the different formations are amenable, I suppose, to what should be in line with what the elections are about. Yeah.
But you do have political leaders going to meet with the traditional leaders, going to meet with certain churches. I mean, when they go there, they're not having a cup of tea. They're going to send their message and hoping that those people spread their message, you know, to the people that they have influence.
Yeah, I mean, if the message resonates with what it is that their mandate is, then that will make sense, definitely. But everything that political parties should be talking about should always be in line with what is envisaged in terms of the Constitution and what it is that the country's roadmap is.
Okay. Koketso, I want to ask you the exact same question. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are, well, obviously, political parties are going anywhere where they can get traction. It's not the same. You know, some people are much more receptive, where the churches, trade unions, and so on, whereas others aren't. You know, like an institution like ours is non-partisan.
Yeah.
So we would never be a vehicle through which political parties can campaign.
Okay, in South Africa, do you think civil society is filling that gap between the average citizen, communities, and the state at the moment?
So I think, you know, there's a lot of organizations that are doing amazing work, you know, that is completely necessary. I mean, in relation to the elections, right now we live in a time of disinformation and deep propaganda, right? We've seen Media Monitoring Africa partner with IEC to release the world's first platform where you can report, you know, propaganda on. And this is incredible considering how much disinformation has been influencing elections around the world. So, yeah, definitely a lot of interesting things happening. But it's not just about elections, right? People have been organizing pre the elections all along and afterwards, because ultimately, you know, elections are but a small cog in the machinery of democracy.
When you say organizing, what sort of message are you know, giving the people? What are you organizing? And when you do meet with society, what are you telling them?
So I think there's I mean, elections do give us certain opportunities, right? Through political parties' manifestos, we get deep insight into what are the ideas, what are the proposals, you know, for solving some of the deepest challenges we have. It's also an opportunity to challenge them on things that have been going wrong. So, for example, there's been a campaign that we've been working on with Grassroots, right? We are basically looking for an amendment to the Municipal Systems Act, which is an act that establishes municipalities to enable members of the public to be able to recall ward councillors and so on, you know. So there's a whole set of things, a collective networks of women and feminists right now under the Shayes Fuba are busy imagining what a feminist government that works for black women and non-gender conforming people, you know, imagining what that could be. So, yeah, lots of opportunities.
Koketso, you know, at which point, you know, are you careful not to cross that thin line between education, between awareness and persuasion when you're dealing with the communities?
Me? So basically,
so is Zukiswa.
Yeah.
Zukiswa.
Oh, are you talking to me?
Yes. Yes.
I think you need to always be clear in what it is that your objective is as you go into communities. So you can never go into a community with a specific agenda. You go into communities trying or seeking to understand what communities are looking for, what it is that ails them. And so what we do as civil society organizations is that we come and present a vehicle through which people can actually realize their rights that they feel have been infringed upon. So we never go in there with an agenda more than seeking to understand what it is that the community has an issue with.
Okay. When you look at the elections as well, you have to look at the public broadcaster and also your free media. What role do they play? And also, what role do they play?
I think, with the public broadcaster, their role is to present as balanced a perspective as possible in order for people to have the information that they need at their disposal. I think it's always a dangerous sort of terrain to try and traverse when you're going to try and influence people one way or the other. People need to be able to be given the information that they need to make their own informed decisions.
Is that taking place?
I mean, I think that's a loaded question to ask. I think there definitely are people who have their own objectives that they may be trying to further, but that's where also constitutional education and literacy actually comes into the issue. Whereas if you're well versed in the Constitution and you understand what the Constitution is about, you are not going to be easily swayed by other people's agendas. So you are able to make your own independent decisions.
Okay. Kokette, so any concerns at all that maybe some civil society organizations are actually being used by political parties, as we spoke at the beginning? And if so, what can the civil society groups as a whole do about that? What can you do about it?
So I think the idea that civil society organizations somehow exist outside of the real structural problems of South Africa is very false, right? The idea that everybody's out here, fighting for a noble cause, it's very false, right?
Why do you say that, though? Because
I mean, we can see AfriForum, for example, which is considered a civil rights organization, and we know that AfriForum is actually advancing the interests of a certain group in our society, right? We've seen, a lot of different kinds of reports. So I cannot speak for all organizations, and, some organizations do exist to be supporting the political parties. What I can say is that with us, our work is not, the awareness raising or to be working with political parties, right? We have a very clear agenda. We are an agendaed organization.
Yeah.
As an organization, we are clear that our mission is a society that works for low-income black women and non-gender conforming people in particular, because we believe that when this group wins, which is disproportionately most affected by injustice, our society as a whole benefits.
Okay, Zuki, so your last word from you, though, for Section 27. What are your objectives when you look at the election period and also after?
Our objective period at Section 27 is, as you know, we work specifically in the education and healthcare space. But beyond that, we understand that constitutional awareness and people's understanding of what their rights are is a continuous process. It's not just mandated as a result of the elections, right? So the elections happen as a result of the Constitution that we actually have. So our agenda as Section 27 is to continue to make sure that people actually understand what it is that their rights are and to understand what the Constitution does for them and to protect their rights.
Right, thank you so much, Zukiswa Pikoli from Section 27, Koketso Mueti from amandla.mobi, talking to us here on ENCA about civil society groups and the upcoming elections. That's our show for tonight. News is next. Stay with us.